This is part 4 of a 7-part series on continuing the conversation about the proposed rewrite of Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Bylaws. In part 4, we will look at the big picture, piecing together what the overall goal of the rewrite is.
In the big picture, where is the Article 2 rewrite taking UU? It seems like the goal is to transform UU from a liberal religion into a kind of an activism organization.
Believe it or not, to answer that question, we need to talk about love. So let's talk about love. Everybody loves love. The rewrite says love is at the center of our shared values. But love has dozens of definitions. The question is this just a feel-good platitude, or is this a specific kind of love being centered?
I think I know where you are going with this. I am remembering the instructions the UUA board gave to the Commission, which said that our commitment to personal, institutional, and cultural change rooted in anti-oppression, anti-racism, and multiculturalism values and practices is love in action.
Yes, that is where I was headed. I think that makes it clear that UU will be centered on social justice activism if this rewrite is approved. Let's review some of the changes that seem to be intended to make UU place its main focus on social justice. We see a potential centralization of power in UU. We see the UUA accumulating more power because they no longer include the current primary purpose of the UUA, which is to serve the needs of its member congregations. As one of the co-chairs of the Article 2 Study Commission said at General Assembly, the Commission took care with every word they used. We should assume every new word was added for a reason. And every deleted word was deleted for a reason. We have to assume there is a reason they want to remove this line. In addition, we see General Assembly having more power because of the new overall covenant, like we just talked about. It also is very possible that the new accountability statement results in the UUA playing a big role in enforcement of congregational accountability. Who else could be handed the responsibility for applying consequences for congregations being out of covenant if it is not handed to the UUA to oversee and administer? The UUA seems to think that centralizing power in UU is a prerequisite for getting all of UU to focus on the same things at the same time. But that is not true. Congregations can always agree to act on good ideas. But we need a way to push back on bad ideas.
I agree. Congregations should hold on to their power. We also can see the potential control of individual priorities, resulting from that same accountability statement. All of the new covenants, one in each value, will dictate our personal priorities. The abandonment of individual freedom of belief means individuals do not control their own priorities. The justification added to the inclusion section, to exclude persons who are judged as not sharing our values, makes sure everyone has the same priorities. The implication that congregational freedom and the individual's right of conscience are just relics of UU's past removes some barriers to central control of priorities of both individuals and congregations. And remember, we also concluded that adding the word inclusive in front of democratic processes actually means this is not supporting democracy in UU, as we understand it. All of these changes could lead to us losing control over our own individual priorities, as well as our congregation's priorities.
Of course, we see the centering of a social justice agenda in the justice value, where we covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. But we also see a social justice agenda in a new primary purpose to heal historic injustices. The interdependence values focus on repairing harm and damaged relationships, also make social justice a high priority. So does the new overall purpose, which is the transformation of the world through liberating love. And we especially see a focus on a social justice agenda in that specific definition of love in action we saw in the charge. Tying it all together is the new graphic of UU's values, where the Commission highlights love as the central value of UU.
You know, this emphasis on love is what lots of people like the best about the rewrite. As you said before, everybody loves love. But I honestly think this is the most misinterpreted part of the proposal. That worries me. Some people might be supporting the rewrite due to a misunderstanding. Here, in this proposal, the UUA is talking about a specific kind of love. To really emphasize their point, the charge from the Board of Trustees to the Article 2 Commission repeated their definition of love. The board clearly intended that this love in the center of this graphic represents our commitment to anti-racism, anti-oppression, and multiculturalism. This love is not about personal relationships. This love is not about what binds us to our Unitarian Universalist community. This love is about social justice action.
Now let me summarize what we just talked about. All of these changes seem to be intended to make sure everyone is aligned and strongly focused on the same social justice agenda. The centralization of power, the control over priorities, and the multi-pronged emphasis on social justice would transform UU into a kind of a social justice activism organization.
If that happens, I don't think UU would be a liberal religion anymore. Is that the transformation UU members want? We need to have some hard conversations about this.
Be sure to watch Part 5, where we will look at the failed attempts to amend the proposal during General Assembly last June. Deciding what UU is going to be about is in our hands. Now is the time to continue the conversation. Let's be wise and prudent caretakers of this religion.